Speaking on an episode of the Royally Obsessed podcast, crisis PR expert Nikki Christoph revealed how she would have advised Prince Andrew in the lead-up to his explosive interview on BBC's Newsnight in November 2019. Ms. Christoph explained she would have told the Duke of York to say nothing, but admitted that her advice would have likely fallen on deaf ears. "We know that his communications advisors didn't want him to do it," she said. "One of them resigned before he even did the interview, so they were telling him what I would have told him, which is, say nothing. But Prince Andrew has, respectfully, the self-awareness of a vampire. He is not empathetic. His demeanor is not remorseful. He does not have any goodwill. So everything he says backfires." During the interview, the Duke revealed he still did not regret his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein and had met up with the disgraced financier's ex-girlfriend Ghislaine Maxwell earlier that year. He also denied all allegations against him made by one of Epstein's accusers, Virginia Giuffre, then known as Virginia Roberts, which he has consistently done since the accusations were made. Ms. Giuffre claimed she met the prince in 2001 when she was 17, saying she dined with him, danced with him at a nightclub in London and had sex with him at Maxwell's house in Belgravia. Ms. Giuffre alleged Andrew had been profusely sweating during their encounter, a claim the prince pointed out as a problem with the story. He asserted that a medical condition meant he could not have been sweating. "I didn't sweat at the time because I had suffered what I would describe as an overdose of adrenaline in the Falklands War when I was shot at, and it was almost impossible for me to sweat," he said. "Don't miss." King urged to follow his mother's example and keep his nose out of politics. Late Queen drew roar of laughter during historic U.S. Congress address. Insight, poll, should Buckingham Palace be turned into a museum? Poll, Charles poised to pull rug from under Harry and Andrew with rule change. The two former working royals could be stopped from being involved in matters of state, according to a royal expert. Proposals are currently under consideration and could arrive in the House of Commons in a matter of weeks. What rule could the king change? Find out here. Andrew also claimed he was at home with the children, the day on which Ms. Giuffre's allegations are said to have happened, March 10, 2001. The Duke said he had taken his eldest daughter, Princess Beatrice, to a party at a Pizza Express restaurant in Woking that afternoon. "And then because the Duchess was away, we have a simple rule in the family that when one is away the other one is there," he said, adding he remembered the occasion weirdly distinctly because it was one of few times he had been to Woking. He noted, "Going to the Pizza Express there was a very unusual thing for me to do." Reflecting on the interview, Ms. Christoph said, "His team, I'm sure, was watching through their fingers. I was watching through my fingers. I couldn't believe it. And that's what he did on TV. I think his team told him not to do it, but ultimately, they don't have the decision-making power. There is no way that Prince Andrew would have done that interview if Queen Elizabeth said, 'You are not doing that interview.' He wouldn't have done it. So she may not have said, 'Go complain and explain on Newsnight.' She certainly didn't, but she didn't shut it down. And she, Queen Elizabeth II, had a soft spot for him, so I'm sure she didn't encourage it. But if she had said, no, it wouldn't have happened." Andrew stepped back from royal duties shortly after the disastrous interview aired. He was subsequently stripped of his patronages and military titles, and has led a life away from the royal spotlight. He has vehemently denied all allegations made against him. The disgraced Duke has made a handful of public appearances, only joining the royal family at the biggest public events. However, several reports have suggested the prince has a desire to return to royal duty. Russell Myers, royal editor at Lorraine, discussed Prince Andrew's potential comeback on a recent episode of the Pod Save the King podcast. He, Andrew, does see himself as a young man who has a lot of life to live, he said. He is only 63. And certainly, he doesn't want to retire, and even if he does retire, what's he going to do? Meanwhile, royal commentator Gertrude Daly told Express.co.uk, "I think Prince Andrew wants to make a comeback. He is trying to find a way to come back, but in a less visible way, with less media attention. I think Andrew thinks he can still provide value to the monarchy, if only he were put into rooms stacked with supporters."
Now take